So just off the bat, in response to the movie I saw last night, my initial thought was, I could never be a cop. The first call that I got where I was on shift, and then they go, we have 3 decapitated heads on the hood of a car, do you copy? I'm literally on lunch or on vacation that day. It's not gonna happen. So I guess real quickly, I just thought I would say, everybody out there who's doing exactly what they should be doing, working hard to try and give us a better world and protect all of us around there, doing it the right way, man, good on you. Way to go. Keep it up. And have a donut. Not because it's a stereotype, but because they're delicious. Welcome to the Great Big Picture Show. I'm Spencer Howard Belden, and this is always my outlet to talk to you about the things I love and the things I don't in the movies I see. And for today's video, I'm going to be talking about 999. Now, 999 is John Hillcoat, the director of The Proposition and The Road. It is his turn to take the reins on a very tri-genre with the dirty cop, criminals on both sides of the line, who's good, who's bad, genre. Ugh. Now, 999 is in reference to the code that police officers have in which a police officer is killed in action. 999, 999, right? Now, what John Hillcoat has done is assembled one of the most impressive casts I've seen in a very, very long time that continuously fill out a film that is equal parts exciting and uncompromising. The pace is fast and never lets up without any action being wasted, and also without sacrificing dialogue or development either. I've heard some rumblings that people have felt like because of the shorter running time, it feels as though it's lacking in character development or story development, but I honestly think that's crap. The movie starts right from the get-go, guns blazing, and doesn't let up. And honestly, I took this more as the director, possibly the cast, the writer as well, expecting more from the audience. You come into this movie, you know this kind of genre, so you know these kinds of characters to some extent, so I didn't feel like it necessarily needed extreme amounts of depth into each entire storyline. The entire filming experience, I never had an issue with development, and I never had an issue connecting with each scenario or each situation or conflict. I actually thought, considering the shorter runtime for a movie like this, it was actually developed fairly well, with conflicts and dilemmas coming about very naturally and not feeling cheap or fake. The script by Matt Cook is very pulpy and thrilling, giving you twists and turns here and there and keeping its characters entertaining while zipping along at an extremely fast pace, as I mentioned before. One thing I do think the movie could have possibly benefited from is maybe being like 20 minutes longer, possibly, only because the pace is so fast, it doesn't really give you a lot of room to breathe. That didn't bother me. I actually really enjoyed that. But in general, I could see how the movie could have benefited from that as well. I'm just gonna say this really quick. Nicholas Karakatsanis. I wanted to give a very particular shout out to the cinematographer, the name I just mentioned. His use of light, shadow, and color is beautifully executed throughout the whole movie, giving the movie a sense of tension and real intensity as it goes. His choices from angles and movement just left the film rattling, so I love it. Way to go, Nicholas Karakatsanis. Now, with these kinds of movies, there are cliches that come along with it, just considering the genre. Yes, you can either completely deny those cliches and go for something completely different, or you can use them to build upon, and I think that it does more of the latter here. Difference being, as opposed to many of the other movies that are like this that I have seen, this movie is brutal, uncompromising, and it is fierce. I found myself each step of the way, each momentum that was building, it took the step that I didn't think that it would, or be brave enough to. Most movies take a step back when it reaches that peak, but this movie is not afraid to do that. And it's not afraid to show the grittiest side of these scenarios. Sure, you could probably argue that it's elevated for drama's sake, but you could probably also argue that police officers and criminals alike deal with these situations in very real life settings. And it's refreshing to see it go that far. That, along with the really nicely shot and choreographed action sequences, build up to a really tense cop drama that just kept going and going for me. So kudos to John Hillcoat. Now let's talk about that cast. Holy crap. I'm going to try and remember off the top of my head. We have Chiwetel Ejiofor, Kate Winslet, Norman Reedus, Aaron Paul, Casey Affleck, Woody Harrelson, Clifton Collins Jr., Anthony Mackie, Gal Gadot, the new Wonder Woman, even Michael Kenneth Williams in a very small, very awesome cameo-esque type role. And what I would imagine a lot of people, if you didn't enjoy the pace or it kind of felt like it was lacking in any sort of development or real depth to some extent, you're going to be blown away by the cast and their work. All that being said, the entire cast does really great work, all of them. Kate Winslet is extremely over the top and looks like she's having a blast as this Russian mob leader. Chiwetel Ejiofor is also extremely good, being the brute force of the criminal side of things while also being very emotional and sincere about his predicament. Anthony Mackie has a nice turn, being very conflicted, being a cop, also dealing in things he probably shouldn't be dealing in. Clifton Collins Jr. also not one of the biggest names on the bill, but definitely deserving of praise. He's really, really good as well. Casey Affleck, Aaron Paul, like I said, both doing really nice work. The list literally goes on and on and on and on and on and on. Ultimately, when you look at it, this is all built up to an original cop story filled with beautiful, brilliant actors, shot to the teeth and completely devastating, visceral and taut and intriguing. I had a complete blast. And plus, we want to support really good quality movies that have an original concept to some extent. I would very, very lovingly give the edge to a movie like this where its ambitions are so high, even if it's a little faulty sometimes. I'm honestly going to give it a solid yes. I was waiting to be disappointed, and at no point was I disappointed. I was blown away by the movement of the camera and the actors. The use of the script is cutting all the fat, keeping the story very, very lean. Outside of that, I think that's it. Thank you guys for watching. This is The Great Big Picture Show. I'm Spencer Howard Belden. Now, as always, please like, share, and subscribe. Everything with this face on it. And yeah, please have a good day. Please have a good night. If you're a cop, dude, that's a tough gig. Way to go. And go hug someone. Please hug someone if you are just hanging out and they're like, yeah, I think I'm gonna decapitate Steve. Don't respond, Craig, you're crazy. Just like hug him and tell him, don't do that. We don't need people decapitating people or shooting people or stuff like that. Little do they know, that's really bad. Clearly they don't understand that. So give them a hug. They need it.